So I want to share with you a little bit about Guatemala. So they asked me to first tell you about the country where I come from. Do any of you know where Guatemala is located? I love to ask questions, so if anyone here is brave to say, I know, and tell me roughly where you think it is. Exactly, Central America, perfect. A lot of times people say, oh, is that in Africa? It's a very small country, so I want to share with you a little bit about it. Wait, so which one? Right, left? Oh, this one better? Okay. I'm trying with this one, but it's only showing me. Okay. This one. Ah, perfect. It was moving. Okay. So, Guatemala, can you see the pictures a little bit? Guatemala, where did the name came from? A lot of people say is Guajitemala, which is an indigenous language from the people in Mexico called Nahuatl. When they were coming to Guatemala, they would say, look, that is the land of big trees and forests. So Guajitemala means the land of big trees. That could be the reason for the name, but our country is also known in many other ways. It is called the land of eternal spring. It's very similar to this part of India in that the temperature is always relatively easy to live. So we're always around 20 to 24 degrees Celsius, which means it's a temperate weather, and all sorts of plants and trees and animals can live year-round without having to hide in caves or hibernation, because there's no snow and there is no extreme heat either. And another name for Guatemala, it's called the land of volcanoes. We have more than 100 volcanoes in a very, very small country. And some you can hike, some you cannot, because Guatemala is also sitting over 3 tectonic plates. What that means is that Guatemala is constantly moving and shifting, so we have a lot of earthquakes every year, small ones, not big ones. So the 3 tectonic plates below create a belt of that. So we have constant volcanoes in eruption that make life very fun and very challenging sometimes. It is one of the few countries in America where you can hike up to a volcano and eat a pizza cooked in a lava oven. So that's fun. And it's also one of the 10 most mega biodiverse countries in the world. Mega biodiverse, I'm guessing you guys know what it means. It just means a lot of species in a tiny amount of land. And the reason is that we have high mountains and low valleys. All our country is like that. Because of the 3 tectonic plates merging, they make a lot of mountains and ridges. And so each little area is a microclimate. So you might be and we have 2 oceans. So you might be in the ocean, and in 2 hours you're in the highlands, and you have one type of biome here and one type of animals there. So it's kind of fun, because you can try a lot of different, it looks like you're in the desert at 1 minute, and then you're in the beach with waves, and then the next minute you're in a very cold climate. And so that creates a lot of variation for many different species to thrive. So is anyone here interested in that relationship between humans and the environment in any way? This is a wonderful country to come and research. Just to quickly tell you about Guatemala, maybe this is too simple, but some people ask me these questions, so I just wanted to share. Your national bird here is the peacock, right? Our national bird is called the quetzal. It's this beautiful bird with long feathers, so it's called the flying serpent. And its feathers were only used by kings in the Maya ancient world. Of course, no one can take any of these feathers these days because you go to jail. But otherwise, it is a bit threatened and under extinction, but there are a lot of people trying to save its habitat. This is our national flower, Moja Blanca. Anybody here knows a bit of Spanish? No? Okay. You do?
Very little. Like actually, when I was in fifth standard, a group of Spanish women came to our school for 1 month, and they made us know about their culture and dance Macarena, and
Oh, you dance Macarena. Wonderful.
and they made us familiar with all our vegetable paella dish of Spain, and about how rose became the national flag.
Okay. Oh, perfect. So then you know a bit of Spanish. Do you understand any of those words?
Very little, like Buenos Dias.
Okay. Well, it just means the white nun. In Catholic countries, like where I come from, women who keep, that are like priests but female, they're called nuns, and they wear these hats that look a lot like this flower. So that's why we call it the white nun. And this is our national tree called the ceiba tree. The reason why this is important is because we'll talk later about the axis mundi, which in Latin means the center of the world, or the center of our known world. And to the indigenous people in my country, this tree represents the center of the world, connecting the heaven realm and the realm below earth, which is the land of the dead. And we live in the middle. So this tree is called the center of the world. If you have any questions or want to comment on anything you know, please feel free, okay? And people ask me a lot of times, what's the city of Guatemala like? Or how, and then I say, which city, in what time and age? Because Guatemala, like India, has a long, rich history, but we also had a history of colonization and then rebirth. So one of our most ancient cities, you can see here, that city is called Tikal. And it was one of the most important cities and kingdoms in the pre-Hispanic times, meaning before the Spanish conquest, in what we call the classic period, which is like when there was the most art, written language, commerce, and a lot of strong culture going around everywhere. So this is the colonial city of Antigua, Guatemala, which means ancient Guatemala. You can still go and visit it. It's a UNESCO site. It's very beautiful. But it's no longer the administration center of the country. And here you see a picture of Guatemala City. It looks like any other city in the world, just with lots of volcanoes in the background. And so our society is, when I was visiting different cities in India, I was relating so much because we also have huge cities, high technology, and a modern world coexisting at the same time with very traditional old towns where people live in houses made out of mud and materials from earth. So our country, we call it the country of contrasts. Very different things happening in the same area. So generally, if you go, which I would invite you once in your lifetime to go to Central America, it will be very rich. Lots of beautiful environment, different ones, like I was saying. But its wealth is not only in this. It's in its people, in the richness of the culture of Guatemala. So if you do a quick Google search, you will find images like this, very colorful. And our outfits are different than what you wear here. So you see this shirt I'm wearing, it's called a huipil. And it's weaved in a waist loom by women, but this is embroidered. And each piece has a meaning, very deep layers of meaning put in each piece of clothing. Most women do not use pants. Indigenous traditional women wear skirts that are long, that we wrap around in circles to make it very sturdy. So Guatemala, just to give you a little bit of information that you know, is a country that has about 14 million people. Just like India, right? No. You guys, our entire country has less population than any city in India almost. So we are very mixed as well. We have 24 languages. If you see the map here, this is Guatemala in between North and South America, and it's tiny. But we have half of our population, more or less, is called mestizo, which are people like me. Mestizo means mix. Get all the genes you can and mix them. So we are a combination of traditional indigenous people, settlers that came from Europe, gypsies, and everything in between. Then we have also a percentage of the population who is Maya. I know the word Maya here in India means illusion, but in our language, Maya O means the real people. Most indigenous people in the world call themselves the real people in their language, like Australians, Aboriginal people from Australia. So I would say that a little more than half of our population are original Maya people. You can see some pictures here. I don't think you can see them so sharply, but there are many different kinds of outfits. Each Maya group has a different outfit. This one that you see here is from the Cachiquel region. And there are at least 20 different huipiles, one for each town. So overall, you can have 200, 300 different traditional outfits. And how you dress tells other people where you come from. So if someone sees me, they will say, ah, you got this in Patsun, because that's exactly where I got it from. So Maya languages are guttural. If I say something in Spanish, you hear a cadence like, buenos días, ¿cómo están todos? Para mí es un gusto estar acá. So that's Spanish. But if I say the same thing in a Maya language, hear the sounds. So there's a lot of guttural sounds. And Maya languages are very hard to learn. So I learned in the university because I was not taught as a child. And if I learn one Maya language, I cannot understand any of the other 20. Each one is very different. Only a few words like corn and sun and water remain the same. But they all come from one ancestral language about 3,000 years ago. And we also have a black Carib population, small percentage. These were black slaves brought from the Spanish for doing heavy work that stayed, and their culture evolved by mixing with the Maya culture. So these are called Garifuna. And Xinkas, who's a small, unknown population. Their language is so strange, we don't know where they came from. Very small population. Okay, so that's it. In general terms, Guatemala is plurilingual, like India, multicultural, like India, and also has extreme poverty, like India. Half of our population lives under the poverty line. That's why I was saying we are the country of contrasts. All right, so you can see this quick map. It shows where each language is located. Just to give you an idea, the majority of the country is speaking a Maya language. And yet, all decisions made in government here are made in Spanish. So we remain still a society that needs to learn how to be inclusive for all people. If you do not learn Spanish at school, you can't get a passport, you can't get a bank account, It's basic stuff, right? But I was impressed here. We went to a temple yesterday with Mark and our colleagues, and there were like 9 languages, local languages explaining the signs. So I see you guys make an effort to give room for a lot of cultures, and services are given not only in Hindi but in a lot of other languages. So I would like to learn about that. All right. So far, Guatemala, and then I can move to other stuff. But last thing I'm going to say is imagine a country of pyramids built bigger than Egyptian ones. Can you imagine that? So Guatemala had pyramids, has the biggest pyramid in the world called Mirador. Bigger than anything in China, anything in Africa, anything in, right? So why do we not know about it? Because we had a history of colonization where the Spanish world met the indigenous world very tragically, and so the oppression was very severe. Giving birth to a country that created different types of citizens. The whiter you were, the more privilege you had, the more Spanish you looked, the more riches you had, and the more indigenous you look, the less opportunities you have. And that is still a struggle in my country. That is still needing to change. And the reason I tell you this is so you understand the next part that's coming. So it's by no means a country that is perfect or that is fair. It is actually a country that is very unfair to its native people. Even though we saw before, it's half of the population, right? Okay, so that being said, I would like to ask if you have any questions so far or comments? Okay. Otherwise, I go on. Right. So, I wanted to show you one example of why we have contrasts. This is our public health system. Don't know if you can see it. This is one hospital room with a lot of beds. I work in medicine and health, as you heard. And there is not enough hospital beds in my country. There are not enough doctors or nurses or medicine. There's not. So people don't get sick in Guatemala? No, actually, they get very sick, but because the allopathic medicine, which is modern medicine, has never been enough, there exists still today traditional Maya medicine. This picture here is a midwife called an abuela, a grandmother, receiving a baby and talking to the parents. And over there is a traditional healer who's doing a spirit ceremony calling someone's soul. These two systems coexist today. So if you're in the city where I live, you won't find any traditional Maya healers. But if you go to the towns, that's the only thing you'll find. So to give you an idea, these two medicines are in conflict because our government does not recognize the value of traditional medicine, even though, for example, during the pandemic, which hit us all very hard, COVID-19, you guys remember it? You're probably not having the greatest time either here. Traditional healers saved thousands of people from COVID-19 because our government did not have the facilities to save them. Another example, during COVID-19, no pregnant women could go to the hospital. It was forbidden because they could get sick and the baby could get sick. So if you had a complication, what did you do? Well, go to a midwife. And the midwife saved the day. For 9 months, they were taking care of all the people that the hospitals could not receive. So you would think, wow, that's awesome, because then they got recognized. But no, not yet. We're working on it. So this happens across all sectors. Agriculture, traditional knowledge, modern knowledge. Astronomy, Maya knowledge, new knowledge. So in every field of life, there's always a traditional way and the modern way. So I want to share with you a little bit about the principles of the Maya world and see if you can find similarities with what you have here in India. I will ask you later if you find any similarities, because I love finding similarities across cultures. Have you ever heard of codexes? Of a codex in any of your studies in archaeology or anthropology? A codex is an ancient manuscript from America, made in bark, in paper made from bark. This is from an old codex and represents the ceiba tree I just showed you before. That big tree, it's called the axis mundi, the center of the world. It's represented in this cross. I don't know if you can see it from afar, but this is a cross. And everything in the Maya world is divided in four cardinal points, four axes, let's say 4 dimensions to one axis. So the most important cardinal point, anyone wants to guess which one it is? Is it north, south, east, or west? What is it in your culture? Is there any cardinal point that is more important than what comes first? Which one would it be? East. Great. Same in Maya culture. It's east. Why? Because it's where the sun rises. So in this drawing, the east is represented in color red. It's where the sun rises. Red is fire. So it represents the fire element and our body. Like what color is our blood? Red. So it also represents our human bodies. The second cardinal point is west, represented in the color black, because that is where Father Sun dies every night, and it's represented in black and element earth. Earth has no light of her own, right? So that's why also it's black. And it represents the spirit world. The other cardinal point you see here is yellow, representing south, an element water. And represents, like water, the flow of our emotions. So it's the emotional world. And then to the north is white. It represents the element wind. We can't see the wind, can we? Like our thoughts. So it represents the world of thought. So there are 4 worlds here. Who remembers? Red, body. Black, spirit or energy. Yellow, emotions, and white, mind. And these 4 worlds constitute our world as well. We are composed of those 4 things. So when we lose our health or our balance, we need to check which one of these 4 axes we lost it. Maybe we got sick from thinking too much or worrying too much. So in the Maya world, these 4 elements are very important. And what do you think is in the center of this? There is the Maya yin-yang, blue for the heart of sky and green for the heart of Mother Earth. It's the masculine and the feminine divine together. So in the Maya world, that little symbol, I don't know if you can see it, represents the yin-yang, 2 pyramids inverted. And it represents we have to strive for balance and complementarity. So in the Maya world, we don't say, you're good, you're bad. We say, you walk in the middle. You need to know your shadow. You need to know your strength and your weaknesses. So traditional healers or shamans or Maya priests will help you find your balance, each one of you, so that you walk in the middle path. That's what that little symbol means. And this gets applied to a lot of things because we believe that all these 4 elements are inside of us, and if you have too much of one or too little of another one, you get sick. Has anyone here in your medical system say you have too much fire in your stomach? And then you get gastritis or an ulcer. So we have medicine to counteract too much fire. It's a lot like Ayurveda. Do you guys know Ayurveda? Anyone here want to raise their hands? Any of you know a bit of Ayurveda? No? Maybe your parents do?
It's the traditional Indian medicine in the
I know.
from the ancient times.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I came to India, to have a lot of meetings with Institute of Ayurveda to see if we can collaborate with Maya medicine. But why I'm saying this is because it's very similar in that way. And you can heal a person with this, or you can heal the planet. So right now our planet has an unbalance between fire and water. In some parts of the world, we have extreme droughts. In other parts, we have floods. But we're kind of destroying the balance in our planet, as you know, from what we humans are doing to it. So in the Maya world, anything gets applied from the microcosmos to the macrocosmos. It's all one series of steps of the same reality. Why is this four axis or four corners of the world important? Well, you know what? Maya people say we came from corn. We were made of corn. And if you look at the four original colors of the corn, what colors do you see? Yellow, black, white, and red. The same colors of the four elements. These are called the four families of the planet. So the red family is the people from America. The black family is the people that we would call the original settlers of the planet, mostly in Africa. You have the yellow family of Eurasia, let's say Asia and a little bit extended. So you would belong to the yellow family of the world. And the white family, mostly very Caucasian people. So these four elements you find in all the symbology in the Maya world. This is the preparation of a Maya ceremony with fire. So people put flowers, candles, and lots of offerings, but the candles have colors too. And again, all of the red candles point to the east, all of the black candles to the west, and so on. And look at, this is my teacher, Simeon Takira, who already transcended to the other world. And you can see in his headpiece the same symbol, the four colors, and in the middle, the green and the blue. So why am I telling you this? Because symbols in our cultures can be very important to understand. If I come from America, yesterday we were going through the streets and we saw a swastika. And one of our colleagues said, oh, the German symbol for the genocide. Like, no. This is a very ancient symbol here in India that represents the opposite. It's the life, right? The life cycle. You can tell me more about it. So we need to know our symbology to understand how people relate to what they mean. In anthropology, in social sciences, in the humanities, when we train in any career, we pay a lot of attention to human interactions, right? Anyone here wants to be a psychologist in the future? There you go. Maybe someone in social sciences? So raise their hand. Oh, come on, guys. Anthropology is really fun.